We're live. This is so exciting. Kate Nankivell is with us today having coffee with me, the coffee with two Kates.
Hey, hello, Kate. It's lovely to be here.
Well, it's nice to have you all the way from New Zealand. I always tell everybody I've shipped this to Sweden. I've shipped this to New Zealand. Neither of them have broken, so that's good.
Yeah, it's great, the shipping. I was very well boxed, Kate. Arrived safely and it was great. It's lovely to have it.
Well, I sent it to you months ago. We meant to do this sooner. So anyway, really happy if you have joined us here on Facebook Live and on Coffee with Kate, which I keep all of my Coffee with Kate interviews on my website at standingoutonline.com. So I met Kate through the LinkedIn crowd all over the world. That's the joys of social media and LinkedIn especially. And I'd like to think that the LinkedIn experts community is actually particularly generous and friendly. So I met Kate through a summit, a boot camp summit, right, with Adele McClay, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, from the UK, and then we hit it off, and then it was like, well, two Kates, joining forces, and then it turned out that Kate's business happens to be named Force of Nature. So why don't you tell us a little bit about why you named it that and how it relates to your LinkedIn business?
Right. That's a good question. So yes, I'd like to say thank you to Adele McClay because that's awesome that we met. And I agree with what you're saying about the LinkedIn community, such a brilliant group of people all over the world. So Force of Nature arose as a brand for me sometime before I started my own business. And it was actually around me losing a whole lot of weight. And we created a brand because I lost 40 kilos and got into great shape. And the person who was working with me on the story I was telling at the time called me a force of nature, and it stuck. And I love the brand so much that when I created my business around LinkedIn, I continued with that brand.
It's great. And, one of the things is, Kate, and the people who are listening to me who follow my stuff is I'm all about personal story because it's the thing that helps build relationships. And that's why LinkedIn is such a great tool because it's where we can really build relationships. And yes, we want to talk about our business and yes, we want to have transactions, but it's all about the relationship first, right?
Absolutely. And I think the more that we can achieve that in the most appropriate timing possible, the better we connect with other human beings and then become more interested. And so therefore all sorts of things can springboard from that kind of a connection.
So Kate and I have stayed in touch in the last 2 or 3 years since we met through Adele McClay. And we help each other out. We share a lot of information. And so I wanted to have her on as a guest on my Coffee with Kate show. And so just give us a little snapshot of the type of LinkedIn work you do, how you help your clients, whether it's in New Zealand or in Europe or all over the world.
Yes, certainly. So look, in my business, I work with individuals, teams, and organizations. It often begins working with their profiles because often I find even in 2020, where people need to begin is actually telling their story effectively in business. And so whether I'm working with an individual or a team, I'm helping them on their journey to articulate their story in business through their LinkedIn profile.
Why do you think people get so stuck on their LinkedIn profiles, especially like the about section or the summary section?
I don't think it's necessarily a natural skill set. One thing I say is that, people don't wake up in the morning and go, oh, I've had a beaming insight. I know how to create a great LinkedIn profile. It doesn't get delivered.
I'll drink to that.
And that's why we're in business, right? It's an opportunity that we're helping people, address or close or solve. People are busy as well. They're busy doing what they are doing in their businesses or in their jobs. And so therefore they want to carry on doing what they're doing, but they often need assistance to move from that place of probably incomplete or not having given attention to this. And it's kind of just something they're aware of in the periphery, or it's become more of a priority.
Right. So what is one of your specialties when you work with a client, and you can pick which type of client, if you want to talk about corporate or individual, just because one of the things we're doing here is this is not LinkedIn Live yet. I don't have it yet, but you can have video up to 10 minutes on LinkedIn. So this is like sharing some of your best stuff and giving people a really good sense of what you do, but in a snapshot.
Sure. Look, I'm going to choose to talk about something I received feedback about yesterday when I was working one-to-one with a client.
Great.
Often someone who is in a senior role in an organization, whether they be the CEO or somewhere in the C-suite, or they're a business owner busy doing what they're doing, one of the things they really love when they sit down with me is the fact that I'm completely focused on them and gathering everything about them. It's like a brilliant kind of semi-coaching counseling session where they get to talk all about themselves and their lives and where they've come from. And I'm honestly and completely fascinated with that. It's one of the things I most love to do is get to know who people are, where they've come from, what their story's all about. And regularly I get the feedback from people who are in senior roles who never get the chance to talk about themselves, how much they just enjoy having the focus on them for a change. And they come away going, oh, that feels great.
And I think that's why I love doing this work so much too, is that it's the people I meet and their stories, and then finding a way to help them comfortably talk about themselves so that they feel like they're showcasing their skill sets versus just being like, I do this and I do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think it is quite a personal process when you're working one-to-one. So I think that's also part of assessing the fit for the kind of work we do to help people on their journey. If you're not willing to delve a little and find out and explore and describe what your story is, I don't think that you're going to connect as well with other people, whether you're talking one-to-one or whether you're communicating through your LinkedIn profile. It's really important. It's like that Brené Brown thing about being comfortable, being vulnerable.
Yes. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
No, I go ahead. No, elaborate.
I think that's really important. I think the more we're comfortable being vulnerable or a little vulnerable, the more others connect with us.
Mm-hmm. When you work with someone on their profile, what is do you have like a favorite section that you work on with them?
Oh, I would say it's two-edged. My favorite section would be the about section,
right?
But it's also it's a process to get there. So like a journey, like you need to go through the process to pull out what it is that's going to create the magic for that person, so that other people will connect with them. And I think we're all of us on journeys. Again, I often refer people in my workshops to the Simon Sinek TED Talk about your why, because the more any person understands their why in business and in life, again, if you're able to convey that, then the more other people will connect with you because they get what's driving you. And that's always interesting.
Exactly. I agree 100%.
I'm not sure if I stuck your question. Sorry, Kate. I was kind of going off in a...
No, it's fine. It's fine. That's why I love talking with you. We need a lot more than 10 minutes in some ways. So if you had one, like from your standpoint and your specialty and your superpower, what would be one really hot LinkedIn tip that you would leave with our listeners today?
Sure. Well, I'm going to lead with something that's perhaps a little different from what often is mentioned. I'm going to talk about mindset in LinkedIn.
Okay, great.
Yeah, because for a lot of people, when they think about social media, they come from probably a Facebook paradigm often, particularly business people that we're often dealing with. If we're talking about maybe millennials and younger, they might be more exposed to Instagram. But if we think about Facebook, on Facebook, we can stalk one another. We can look at each other's photos and stories and history and blah, blah, blah. And so people kind of get accustomed to this concept of stalking, whereas on LinkedIn, I really encourage people to shift their paradigm and go, we're here on business. It's okay to look at people's profiles and learn about them. Go ahead, do that. Think of it like you're at a conference, in a meeting, going into a business place, and you'd go up and shake someone's hand and introduce yourself in an appropriate business-like manner and a friendly manner. So I think that mindset piece is really important. And I use the term paradigm a lot because people often come over going, oh, I feel really weird looking at people's profiles. I'm like, no, look, say hi.
Well, I thank you for being on here today and sharing that tip. It's a really great one. Mindset and the paradigm piece is so important. And maybe we can do another one of these someday. And when either one of us ever gets LinkedIn Live, we could do like a real half-hour kind of thing and go deeper. So
yeah, that'd be awesome, Kate. I can't wait for that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for having coffee with me. Not even virtual, because you've got a real cup.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Kate. It's been a pleasure. It was great talking with you. Cheers.